Okay, how do I begin? First of all, the reason I'm walking around is this is how I think of stuff, so you're mainly going to be just seeing the top of my room. Second of all, yes, I know hundreds of a couple other YouTubers have done something on this topic and whatnot, but I'm gonna, but I want to do my take on it because this is personally really important for me, and this could be especially important to our country as of current. So let's get down to the dirty. So I'm gonna go over two topics today. The first one being when why railroads are better than any other form of transportation, and why we should do why we should reconstruct some tracks and rebuild old roadbeds of railroads that once existed. So let's start with the first topic: why railroads are the best source of shipping. So I think it's all clear that in this crisis we're having, where massive inflation and maybe soon crash out the stock market again, um, may it is causing lots of problems for shipping companies and whatnot, where we are where train basically trucks can't get on the road because it costs too much. Yeah, really, because both um, planes and cars, planes and vehicles and ships. I think ships are the only other one, but we all know why that cannot be a source. And planes, that is a good one also, but you know, we don't have, we would have to literally rent military planes out, like Lockheed and whatnot, Lockheed planes and whatnot to fly cargo out. And there's not airports everywhere, so there goes planes. So we're gonna just talk about those two first. Boats and planes, why they will not help any more than cars will. So, cars were shut down because of gas and just fuel prices and whatnot. That's stopping them. But let's go to major company ones. So, boats and planes. Reason we can't have boats is because boats take way too long, and if they're under certain conditions, they cannot leave port at risk of sinking, or they will sink. So that's the basic problem with boating, is that, oh yeah, they could pay for fuel, but it's going to be a long time for products to get from one part of the country to the other, and still needs driving involved. And then airlines are a bit different because they could get you to places in only a couple of hours, but once again, stuff will need to be shipped by truck, and I don't think they're going to be buying private. I don't think the government's going to be buying private landing strips and expanding them to be major cargo strips in rural parts of the country. So boom, there's that, and that rail shipping is the fastest because one, yeah, there's air traffic. Yeah, that exists, and there's boat traffic also. Remember last year? But the difference between boat traffic and air traffic with rail traffic is that boat traffic clogs whole ports up, and it takes a while for certain things to get off of the boats and whatnot. The second thing is, well, of course, where airports can become full and whatnot, and planes can run out of fuel if they keep flying in the air. So, yeah, we can't have that happening. And then rails, you only have to wait 15 or 20 minutes, maybe, I think up to 2 hours sometimes, for just a train to pass, or a train that's coming up to pass you. Not really a lot. And usually, there's a lot of, and tracks are often still used in rural areas for different things. Well, not different things, like, to give an example, Bennett, Colorado. Not too far from Elizabeth and Kiowa and Elbert. And if they made a depot there, and they could probably truckers could probably afford enough fuel to go between Bennett and boom, that solves one of our problems with rail. That, yeah, they go to one place, but you can, if there's a station or an area close enough to, if there's a depot close enough to other towns, then those towns could use trucking and do that. And with airports and cargo ships actually do use this a lot. Rail traffic. And so, but if we did it with airports, imagine, like, that would be very good. I think a lot of companies would make a lot of money from doing that. So, boom. Railroads always solve the problem. But let's get to my second part, which is why we should do it like the old, like, why we should rebuild some railroads and whatnot. So, it's actually my name, Union Pacific and Denver and Rio Grande. Those two are actually a common thing. And if you're a rail fan like me and like railroads and whatnot, and like, stuff, you know that in 1989, the Union Pacific bought the Denver and Rio Grande Western, or at the time it was known as the Rio Grande also. But if you remember, it had a bunch of stuff up in down in New Mexico, that mainly narrow gauge. And you might be wondering, well, no, we're not going to reopen narrow gauge because we have no narrow gauge diesels or steam engines. Yeah. And that's, well, doing something like that would be very pricey. But, again, if we did do it, not only could the railroad, like Union Pacific, if they did do that, not only would Union Pacific be able to pay it off after they get it open, but we imagine seeing there would be a whole new era of narrow gauge introduced to the world, where instead of it being steam narrow gauge like we are used to knowing, it's diesel narrow gauge, and it's basically the same, the economic state of the U.S. But, yeah. So, yeah. And then another very important thing that I know of. So, you may know I live in Colorado because, yeah. But, what most people, so, I'm not going to tell you my area. Because I work for a company, my dad's company. So, I'll just tell you one of the places I'm working, which is in Colorado. So, Falcon, Colorado. Well, I should say Falcon to Peyton. If you know any history about that area, you would know that the Rock Island went through. And if you look there, they still have the old roadbed, and in some places, even the old, even some track. So, what this can actually mean is that because the Rock Island Railroad was rebuilt recently, but in the east. But if they open up a branch, or if I would say Union Pacific, because they own Bennett. Yeah, so here's what I'm thinking, and this is if you're in Union Pacific, and you might want to consider telling this to your manager or someone, not the CEO of Union Pacific, because they'll probably eventually hear about this. But so I would do a branch line that goes from Bennett to Kiowa, Colorado, or to Parker, and what you should do, well, not a branch line. Well, you could do another branch to Parker, but basically, go down to Falcon, Colorado, and basically go over the old Rock Island roadbed, go up to Elbert, and then have a split at Elizabeth and at Elbert. One that goes down to Elizabeth and eventually connects up with Parker, and one that goes through Kiowa and eventually goes to Bennett, and then have the Falcon extension go down to Pueblo, and you will probably get a lot more traffic and a lot of stuff. Well, you will definitely have a lot of traffic coming in. Yeah. So, yeah, just saying, that might be a good area. But, basically, just extend out, just go back to old roadbeds or towns that are developing still or have been in development since the railroad left them, and just rebuild tracks there and jumpstart them once again, or yeah, like I said, make an extension of the Parker, get Peyton and Falcon in there, whatever else cities are in that area, get them in there, and basically build a massive, basically reconnect all those towns to where then we get, and not only will it will help us really with food a lot. If you remember, if there's a historian, you would know that railroads would go to these old farming depots, and eastern Colorado there's a lot of farms, and yeah, and trucking's not really up right now, so it would be a good chance to jump at taking that and redoing what the railroads of the past did, and not only giving farmers the reason to be by the tracks, a reason to have you guys get more money, but also a reason why, but also a way to help the nation more by getting product from the ships directly to the towns. Not, yeah, you could do that with planes and trucks, or just trucks. But I am afraid trucks are down, so yeah. And I was thinking, and I made a joke with my dad, maybe they should reconnect towns again. Reconnect the railroads to the towns again. And I think it's time to do that because money. So yeah, that is all I'm going to say for now on this topic, because it's a debatable topic, especially in this way, and it's most likely going to happen because of, because of the economic status of the U.S., but just some ideas I had and some reasons why we should do it. So yeah, see you guys later. Goodbye.